What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for November 10th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. This is take 3. It's pure pandemonium in my house this morning, but you guys would never know that. But yes, this is take 3. I got Alexa yelling at me in a Megatron voice. It's just fun times on a Friday morning here in my house. But as is always the case here on a Friday, it seems like anyway, the past few weeks we have a big show. Let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. It was coming off the Eagles-Cowboys week. The Sixers beat the Celtics, and the Union beat New England, who's one of their rivals. And I asked, who is Philly's most hated rival right now? Just to see where we're at. We did a whole thing a couple months ago on Philly rivals, and it's still the Cowboys. There was some Braves, some Celtics, even a Diamondback or two that was thrown in there. But it's hard to argue, I will say that. But I just feel as though this rivalry, yes, they're a division rival, and I think a lot of it grew in the late 90s or early to mid 90s, I guess. And it grew out, I feel, and it goes back deeper than that, but I always feel like it grew out of sort of the sense of inferiority that we wanted to be where the Cowboys were. And I feel we've overtaken them. Yes, they have a couple dusty trophies, or a few dusty trophies, I guess you could say. But I feel like past 20 years, we've overtaken them. So to me, that kind of takes some of the bite and some of the sting out of it. And for me, even the Braves, yes, it's a division rival. We've played them a couple times now, past couple years in the postseason. They have the World Series, we don't, but we dominate them. So that's a fun rivalry. To me, the most hated though is the Celtics. It's great to beat them in an early November regular season game, but I want to beat them in the playoffs. And I don't know. I'm old school with that. But again, it's hard to argue the Cowboys. Thank you for everyone. I'm hopefully going to test some things out. That you guys have been more and more participation, and this is what I need. And this is what the next step of this podcast is just audience participation, and you guys are doing a great job. I have something lined up. Hopefully I'm going to test some things out, and within the next week or so, you'll be able to see that. And for best way to stay in the loop is to like and subscribe. If you are new, this is This Day in Philly Sports History. We take a look at this day in Philly sports history, give my current state of the Philly sports landscape, and then do something usually fun each month. I have another one, Back to the Future, with a PH, which is more singular focused. But be sure to like and subscribe both. And speaking of Back to the Future, new episode dropped. I did my recap of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I will leave the link to the ceremony in that podcast for you guys to enjoy and watch a lot of the speeches and things like that. So it was a good time. But be sure to like and subscribe both. Spread the word. Tell your friends. And the sky is the limit. We've grown so much, and we just continue to grow each day. So thank you for your loyal support. All right, getting into the episode now. And a lot of Phillies news yesterday. The hot stove is definitely heating up. I guess the big news yesterday was they're open to trade Nick Castellanos. And to be honest, with the way this team is sort of constructed as it is, and where he is in his contract, he's going into the third year. I think it was a 5-year, $100 million deal. Might not be a bad time to explore that. I think he disappeared during the NLCS. And it's the second straight year that, he was good in the postseason against the Braves, but it wasn't good against the Diamondbacks. And then obviously the year before in the postseason, he wasn't good. So you have a logjam of outfielders with everything, even with Bryce going to first. So I don't know if it's a bad idea to try to see what you can get and maybe build up the farm system, add some prospects for a trade. I don't know. And like I said, if he's back in right field, I don't think it's an issue. He's a good player. I would like to see him be more consistent, but maybe you can get more of a contact hitter or a bat there. I don't know. I think Dombrowski knows what he needs to do. And again, just putting floaters out there, it does not hurt. but you have to get better. Obviously, as constructed, they're a good team. They're just not, and we've seen it the past 2 years, if the bats go cold. So maybe you get somebody who's a more consistent hitter. I don't know, but I don't hate it. I haven't heard any rumors that there's a deal in place or not. But because apparently they're all in their meetings and they were all canceled because everybody got sick. But Castellanos is possibly on the trade block, and I don't necessarily, again, think it's a bad idea. And finally, I think the Rhys Hoskins thing, and everybody's kind of sad about it, but I think we need to keep perspective here. And if you remember back to the 2012-2013 Phillies, when you had Ryan Howard not living up to the contract he got, you had Chase Utley, all those guys who were not living up to the contracts that Ruben was handing out. Basically, they were rewarded for winning the 2008 World Series. I think that is your cautionary tale about being too sentimental. I'm not saying good riddance to Rhys, because I liked him. I thought he was a good player. He was streaky, but I didn't mind him. I liked him. He was a leader of the clubhouse and things like that. However, the way this team is constructed, and I mean, everything revolves around Bryce. So if Bryce is going to first, I mean, I think the cautionary tale is too, he's coming off an ACL tear. So it's not like it's going to take him a little bit longer to get back than it normally would. I think the only exception of a Philly sports team that I can think of getting rid of a guy that maybe they shouldn't have was Brian Dawkins, who still had some left in the tank. But I mean, for the most part, it's like I can go through a whole list. We're doing the disappointing athletes. A lot of those, I could have had like 4 months worth of disappointing athletes just on the contracts that were handed out, like those sentimental ones. So again, with Castellanos and Rhys both, I think the moral of the story is the same. You got to make sure you're doing what's best for your team and not the sentimental thing. Or, like I said, that 2008 Phillies team, that's the cautionary tale, where you had all these aging guys with bloated contracts and a depleted farm system, and you couldn't do much with it. I don't want this Phillies team to do that for the sake of signing Nola to a 7-year deal or bringing back Rhys Hoskins, who has really no fit right now on this team. So just my thoughts on that. Flyers in action tonight out in Anaheim. Should be Anaheim wasn't supposed to be as good as they were this year, and they're playing well. So little late night hockey out on the West Coast for us. Before we get into the Sixers, I wanted to mention, I've been saying it all week, you have to do it. My sweatshirt shipped out. The Mega John shirts are in. Go to phillygoat.com. Get your Mega John shirt. I got the notification last night. It's shipping out. Cannot wait to wear that thing. It should be here. That means in time for Monday night's game. They're usually really, really good with their shipping. So if you want one for next week, order it now. Ryan does a great job. We've been asking for it, and I don't know if it was directly because of us, but I know I've been clamoring for it for a while. But the Mega John shirt is out. It's half Megatron, half AJ with the pink shoe on, the visor. It's a phenomenal looking shirt. Go check it out, phillygoat.com. And while you're there, do some Christmas shopping too. I'll give you 10% off. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery, 10% off your entire order. Get a Mega John shirt for yourself. Get one for the whole family. I'm getting one for my son because he's a Transformers fan anyway. Go check them out, phillygoat.com. Get the Mega John hoodie. Don't want a hoodie? You can get a t-shirt too. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery. All right, Sixers in action tonight. It is their first game of the in-season tournament. They're out in Detroit. The other day I kind of went over this, but they play a 5-team pod. They'll play each of the 4 teams, 2 at home, 2 on the road. And then the winners of each pod, and then the next best record, which likely will be a tie. And then it comes down to, I believe, point differential, just like it does in like a soccer round-robin tournament. They'll advance to the quarterfinals. kind of cool. I mean, we'll see. Like, I like this better than them just dropping everything and playing a tournament, which is what I thought it was. So this is like a regular season game. They just play on a funky looking court, and they have a chance to play and win in that tournament. So they build it into the schedule, which again, I like that more than just dropping everything and playing a tournament. So we'll see. Big game, I guess you could say tonight. It's a tournament game, or if for all you Big Lebowski fans, it's a league game. Smoke, but Sixers in Detroit tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit about Joe's comments, and it's interesting. He was talking about just the acclamation of the guys they got back from the Harden trade. And he was like, the culture is why they're playing so well after this trade. He's like, there's no egos. Guys are legitimately trying to help those new guys acclimate to the team. They're moving the ball well, so they're not selfish, and the guys want to play with each other. Now, on the surface, that sounds great. That sounds like a Nick Nurse system thing. But if you kind of read between the lines there, he's definitely throwing a little shade at James Harden because no egos, ball movement. Guys want to play with each other. So just something interesting. But if the big man's happy, I'm happy. And by any extent of the imagination right now, seems like he's happy. The Sixers are playing well. They are fun. But I like Joe throwing a little shade at James Harden there. So that leads to today's question of the day. Excuse me, I apologize. I need to get a cough button, and this is why you need to buy more shirts so I can get more equipment and not cough in your ear. So I apologize for that. But today's question of the day, I'm going to kind of modify and borrow one that I heard asked yesterday on the WIP morning show. They were talking about the main reason for the Sixers turnaround this season. And they had like their multiple choice. They had a couple different things. But to me, there's only two possible reasons for the way they're playing. And it's either Nick Nurse or James Harden. So that's the question of the day. What is the bigger reason for the Sixers playing well? Is it Nick Nurse's system, or is it getting rid of James Harden? And for me, and again, I giving all credit, I heard this first. I'm just modifying and tweaking it from the WIP morning show, but I think it's a very valid question to ask because I want to see what other people's opinions are, because there were opinions across the board on their Twitter and even between the hosts yesterday. For me, it's one thing and one thing only. It's Nick Nurse. Yes, they needed to get rid of Harden. Yes, the bench is better. Yes, this, yes, that. But to me, it's Nick Nurse because of the way he's handled the whole situation with James Harden, the way he has them playing right now. And it's just, I've said this 1,000 times, but even when they signed him, he is known for getting the most out of players. And I feel like that's what he's doing. He's getting, Toby looks good. Maxey, I feel, is taking his game to the next level. Joe doesn't look like he's struggling to get those points. There were times last year where it's like he put the team on his back. It seems like it's fitting into the flow of the offense, which I don't know. I mean, to be honest, to me, it's not even so much Nick Nurse. I feel it's subtracting Doc Rivers out of the equation. I feel it's no Doc Rivers, but I'm giving you two choices. Is it Nick Nurse or is it the trade of James Harden? For me, it's Nick Nurse because that means no Doc Rivers. But let me know. Hit me up on social media. Comment wherever you're getting this. Shoot me a text, smoke signals, whatever you got to do. But what is the biggest reason for the Sixers turnaround? And this question, I'm modifying courtesy of the WIP morning show yesterday, giving them all credit so people don't say, you're stealing stuff from them. No, I'm borrowing it and tweaking it because I think it's two things. Let me know which one you think it is. Is it Doc? I think it's Doc, but is it Nick Nurse coming in with his system, or is it getting rid of James Harden? Let me know. All right, not a lot of Eagles news due to being on the bye week, but I got a lot of feedback yesterday about my comments about the blaming the refs for things being a loser mindset or a loser mentality. And let me clarify, and some of you might think I'm doubling down on this because I kind of am, but think about it. Good teams find ways to win. What are the Eagles doing right now? They're finding ways to win. So, and I feel like I was there at one point. It was the Cowboys always seem to get the calls. Damn it, the Cowboys always get the calls. The Patriots always get the calls. Do they get the calls, or is it because they're a good enough team that they take advantage of them and overcome some of their own mistakes? Tom Brady and the Patriots, their whole dynasty started on a call that, on a rule none of us ever heard of, but they took advantage of that and they used it to their advantage. I mean, switching sports a little bit, look at like Michael Jordan, always got the calls. Best player to ever play the game. Even now, everybody complains, Joe's always getting the calls. But Joe is one of the top 2 or 3 players in the league, so it's going to seem like he's getting most of the calls because people can't stop him. And maybe the Eagles do benefit from calls here or there, but I would be willing to bet, and I have no scientific data to prove this, I would be willing to bet that if you go over a course of 17 games in an NFL season, take the team, like just team A, team B, and all the way through, I would be willing to bet the amount of calls that each team gets or has called against them will average out to be about the same. You know why people are focused on the Eagles right now? Because they're good. And the Cowboys, their fans, like the Eagles had just as many penalties as the Cowboys did the other night. But the Eagles were able to overcome them because they are a superior team. We used to blame the refs for giving the Cowboys and giving them the calls back in the day because the Cowboys were the superior team. If you're a good team, it's going to seem like they're getting all the calls. Do you ever hear people say, the Browns get all the calls, or the Lions get all the calls? The Clippers, back when they were terrible when I was growing up. No. You know why? Because their teams aren't bad. It's the good teams. The Lakers always get the calls. Michael Jordan always gets the calls. So it's a loser mindset to blame the refs and think the refs have a hand in you not being a better team. And I say it all the time. Like if, and this is, I've seen the light. I've had my come to Jesus moment. Excuse me. I've been there. Oh, the refs are doing. Here's the thing. If you are playing to the point where that one play or that one call has you in a position to win or lose the game, you did not do enough during the game. Go back to the Rams Saints NFC Championship, or was it the championship or the divisional round, whatever it was. That pass interference call. Yes, that pass interference call was it blew that game, and the missed call stopped that drive. However, if the Saints put themselves in a better position, it wouldn't have mattered with that. So everybody's like, this and that. Well, guess what? Play better. And you don't have to worry about it. You take the refs out. That's why the good teams seem like they get the calls, because they are better and they're playing better. So yeah, I'm doubling down on it, and it's a loser mentality. I left a comment on the Clashing Conferences podcast, and I think I put them in a tizzy, and that's okay, because it's a loser mentality to blame the refs for what's happening. Because had you played better, look at the NL. Would have been, it's so easy for us to say the Phillies lost the NLCS because the umpiring was bad throughout, which it was. But guess what? We also didn't put ourselves in a better position to overcome that. We were chasing some bad pitches too. You don't hear anybody in Phillies Nation going, "Oh, we lost the NLCS because of the umpires." So stop blaming the refs. It's a loser mindset. Play better, and you don't have to worry about it. And if that one penalty or one bad call is not the reason you won or lost, play better. Just play better. Speaking of Clashing Conferences, check out my boys over there. It's getting heated. I love it. It's a fun podcast. Anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, the Clashing Conferences podcast. All right, today, told you we had a big show today. Today, we're going to go back to 1985. On November 10th, 1985, the Eagles beat the Falcons 23-17 at the Vet in overtime. Ron Jaworski went 11 for 30. He was kind of at the tail end of his career for 258 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and also ran in a touchdown. Running back Ernest Jackson had 19 rushes for 74 yards and a touchdown. Mike Quick, yes, Mike Quick, our favorite announcer or color analyst for the Eagles radio network, had 3 catches for 145 yards and a touchdown, including the game-winning 99-yard touchdown pass from Ron Jaworski in overtime. Yes, tying the NFL record for the longest pass play in NFL history. He was the 6th player to catch a 99-yard touchdown pass. He caught it at the 20 and just outran the entire Falcons defense. It has happened 7 times since that day in 1985. The last time was Christmas Eve in 2011. Eli Manning to Victor Cruz. It's a Giants guy. I hated that. I hated that combo, Manning to Cruz. Anyway, the 1995 Eagles that win propelled them to 5-5. But then they would all go on to lose 4 of their next 6 to finish 7-9. But help was on the way. Randall Cunningham would be drafted that following spring. Buddy Ryan was on his way in. And then we have the famous gangrene defense. But on this day, back in 1985, the Eagles beat the Falcons 23-17 in overtime thanks to Mike Quick's 99-yard touchdown pass in overtime from Ron Jaworski. All right, finally, I've been telling you about CarCam. Mine are on the way. Hopefully they're coming this weekend. Check them out. Excuse me, I apologize. I've been sick all week. But check them out. If you have kids, you know how messy they are. They fit right on the back of your seat. It's storage. It's trash. You can use it as a cooler. One other things, they have a ton of other car organizational items. They have a great thing for your trunk that you can put in to organize things. Go check them out, carcan.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery, 20 off, all one word, for 20% off of your order. These make a great Christmas gift, especially for the folks in the office. The more you buy, the cheaper they are. You buy over 5, you get free shipping. Great company. Go check them out, carcan.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery, 20 off for 20% off of your order. All right, finishing up today with today's Philly's most disappointing athlete. Sticking with the Eagles, and we're going to go with Nnamdi Asomugha today. He signed with the Eagles on July 29, 2011. The only reason I know that is because, excuse me, I apologize, is because it was at a bachelor party, and it happened the same day as the Phillies trading for Hunter Pence. Asomugha signed a 5-year, $60 million contract. Coming into it, he was a 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, hands down the best shutdown corner in the league at the time. So there's a ton of hype. First year with the Eagles, he had 3 interceptions and 6 pass defenses. Absolutely didn't live up to the hype. That 2011 year, if you remember, that was the Dream Team year. With Vince Young famously said it, and they were anything but a dream team that year. His second year in the league was much better, despite the numbers not being as good. He had 1 interception, 12 pass defenses, but I guess he fit more into the scheme that year. He was an alternate to the Pro Bowl, but the Eagles were just terrible that year. That was Andy Reid's last year as coach of the Eagles. They went 4-12. And ultimately, he was released. He didn't restructure his contract that offseason, so he was released. He would only actually play 1 more year in the NFL before I believe he got into more acting roles and things like that. And as disappointing as he came in with so much hype, and it was just an utter disappointment. Like the very end of the Andy Reid tenure was just disappointing altogether. It wasn't his fault because the Eagles, excuse me, the Eagles probably should have never signed him. So, I mean, it's much, and again, like, yes, he didn't live up to the hype, but he was a man guy, and the Eagles played mostly zone then. So it just wasn't a fit schematically. But still, one of the most disappointing Eagles free agent signings and players ever. Nnamdi Asomugha, let me know what you think. Am I too hard on him? By all accounts, he's a nice guy. The Raiders probably should have just re-signed him. Or somebody who played man coverage should have re-signed him. But Nnamdi Asomugha is today's Philadelphia sports most disappointing athlete. On this day in 85, the Eagles beat the Falcons in overtime thanks to Mike Quick's 99-yard touchdown run. Question of the day, let me know who's most responsible for the Sixers turnaround. Is it Nick Nurse's coaching or is it the trade of James Harden? Joe seems to think a lot of it there's no egos on this team, and part of that's Harden, part of that's Nick Nurse's system. But let me know what you also think about Reese. Sixers in action tonight for the in-season tournament. Go check out Back to the Future. Like and subscribe, especially if you're new. But mainly, let me know the question of the day. Give me your answer. Who's responsible mostly for the Sixers turnaround? It's going to be chilly today. It's Friday. It's a bye week Friday. But go enjoy your Friday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.